it out myself. It's like you're thinking we're dumb to make sense of the show.
But I guess they wanted to show what each
their views.
Yeah. And I noticed a lot of shows are like that. You know what I've been noticing a lot with TV? They either like that, or a lot of shows or movies, the first scene is the last scene. Like, they could show somebody getting locked up, right? And you're like, oh shit. And then it goes 6 months before. And that's that's like in every movie lately. Every movie or TV show. And I think they did it with clickbait, right? Did they do it with clickbait?
When we get a book, what happened?
Did they do it with clickbait? Did they show him first with the sign and then they went months before? Yo, if I'm a director, that's what I'm gonna do. It's a cheat code.
But that's how we used to read books when we were in high school. They'll tell us to do a book report. We'll read the last page, get the ending. Then we'll go back to the first page and be like, yo, we read the whole book. We know what's going to happen.
You know what I used to hate about book reports? Is when they made us do the folder, like, to it. I don't know. I never understood why they made us do that. So when you had the book or your booklet, they would tell you had to get like a folder to it. Like
book cover.
A book cover. So you get, of course, not a trash bag, a shopping bag. Brown paper bag. You cut it, and then you piece it on. I'm like, why?
The people that did that means they had no money, because I had to do that all the
time.
Oh,
me too. That's the way I did it. And you get tape.
They used to sell the sheets.
Yeah. So there were times I sent my stuff in.
I didn't know how to use those.
There was a lot of times I
had a brown paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
We cut it into square, and then my mother had to tape it like it was a gift.
Yeah.
And then I go to school with a brown cover, and everybody making fun of me because they'd be like, you can't afford a regular.
I had the same thing too.
You can't put it because of that.
And then you write your name on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Taste it. Hold on. God damn, Yanni did some good. Damn. She did like a pernil taco, the meat.
I'm gonna air fry a little bit.
Oh, that shit came good. Don't eat it all. Yeah, but yeah, man, I remember for those book covers, they used to make us do that shit. I used to get so mad because sometimes I would do the work and I forgot to do the book cover part with the brown paper bag, and it wouldn't count. They would be like, oh no, you gotta come back in, and then now you have to get the brown paper bag. And God forbid, if you had a design, that means you were rich.
Yeah, they used to be the stationery store, 169 and Broadway.
Yeah.
And they had all the dope ass book covers that you could buy, but I never could afford them.
Yeah, no, I used to have the same thing too, man. I used to do this.
Like a 3-pack with 3 different colors, and all the girls used to have them in class. Somehow all the girls had it, and then some of the guys.
Yo, you know what girls had? They had erasers, bro. Remember the erasers on top of the erasers? That big eraser? It was like it looked like a flat top.
The pink and yellow ones.
Yeah, so you had a regular pencil, and then you could buy like an add-on, which is and it looked like a goddamn flat top, like a Gumby.
We didn't have so much money that when the erase on the pencil was finished,
yeah,
you had to bite it.
Yeah.
You had to bite the metal so the more eraser could come out. Dude, I remember.
Yeah, I remember. I think I used to do it too. Is if I didn't have any eraser, I would spit in my finger and then do it on the paper. Spit in my finger, then take that to try to erase the word.
That's if you write with pens.
Yo, man, that's back in the days, bro. Even, to be honest, even whiteout. I couldn't afford whiteout. Like, whiteout was...
You know when you had a little money?
What?
When the pen with an eraser came out. And that changed the game for everybody.
Yeah.
I never had in my life a pen with an eraser on top.
Oh, you know what? If you had money, you had the pen with all the colors.
With the 4 colors.
Oh, yeah. That pen, I think everybody be like, yo, let me borrow it. I remember I used to always borrow it. And that's like the pen you didn't want to lend to nobody because you were never getting that shit back.
And you had that that pen, the teacher will tell you, do not write in red, because that's how she'll correct your things.
Yeah. But yeah, those are like all these little things. And it's crazy now because I've been setting up my office and I bought mechanical pens, but I went to the dollar store. The dollar store, you could buy everything. So I'm like,
the only thing you can buy in there's a condom and a gun.
That is true.
But if you buy a condom in the dollar store,
that is true.
You're gonna have a baby.
You could probably buy the bullets out here in Florida. They won't travel much. They'll travel 10 feet. But yeah, man. It's true, man. Back in the days with the goddamn brown paper bags. But yeah, other than that, getting back into shows. So we were talking about...
I watched Clickbait.
Mm-hmm. What else do you watch?
Good watch, because I was watching it in the hospital while Wilbur was sleeping in pain and all that shit. Then I watched a documentary on Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. It's called The Blood Brothers on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was good. An hour and a half documentary. There's a movie I want to watch. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. It's called Worth with Michael Keaton.
I saw that one.
There were obvious times.
I saw that one.
It's a true story.
Yep.
Personalities.
About a lawyer who's trying to get money for the people for 9/11.
I saw that one and I probably got, no lie, like 10 to 15 minutes to finish watching it. It's interesting. It's slow, but it's interesting because of, like you said, all the real effects of...
because they're trying to find out if you're worth as much as the other person who died in 9/11. But then they break it down like, is your mortgage as high as that person, or do you pay this much? So that's how they try to break it down.
I don't know if you ever watch on Netflix. It's called Explained. So Explained is kind of like I think they copied like everything with TV. I think they copied this podcast, which is very famous, which is called Stuff You Should Know. So they have a podcast called Stuff You Should Know, and they'll talk about any topic, and they'll talk about marijuana, and they'll tell you. So Explained, it has different. They have one on plastic surgery. They have one on hurricanes. So I started watching the hurricane one just to find out, because especially we lived out here. So it talks about hurricanes, and it talks about what happens is that I think with FEMA, or like when I think a bad hurricane happened out here, is basically if you have $1 million home as opposed to the poor people who have a house that's worth $150,000, is either you try to help the person with the $1 million home because you know you're gonna get more money off of taxes from them. So it plays like all these parts, like similar to the Worth one, that is like this guy's paying taxes, and he's paying $1 million home. I think he said he gotta go or take a shit. One of those two. He gave me one of those.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go swallow the baby.
Oh, yeah. So basically the show Explained, they talked about the hurricanes and basically how each, how people are affected, and how like a lot of times, like even with Katrina, it's always like the poor people that get fucked. And same thing with in Puerto Rico. I think they even talked about Puerto Rico and Maria. That most of I think there's a part, I think is, I think it's Lucia or Loncienza or something like that in Puerto Rico, which is mostly where there's like an area to the right of San Juan, which is mostly morenos, dark skinned Puerto Ricans and stuff. And that one, of course, is racism over there. For them, they got less help than the people who were in San Juan and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting on that. But I know Albert was talking about Worth. I'll talk about the shows I've been watching until Al comes back. I watch Clickbait. If you into like a show that you kind of want to try to figure out what's going on, Clickbait is a good one. Other than that, I've been watching the Wu-Tang one on Hulu. That's been good. I think there's a new episode coming out tonight. it's a little slow the way they describe the story of Wu-Tang, but it's also good because they're giving you a lot of like stuff I didn't know. Like I didn't know about Ray and Ghost, like Ghostface Killer, how like they hated each other, and like the two ones are the best. So like I didn't know like them motherfuckers wanted to kill each other, and the show does a good part of it. So I've been watching that. I'm still like hoping, like, cause they always show like they do protect your neck, but I got a feeling they're gonna push that shit all the way to the end every time they show the trailer for that. But right now, the RZA's trying to get all of them together, and it's crazy how the RZA had this vision, and basically like it's crazy how the Wu-Tang Clan came, and how.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
I haven't watched one episode of the new season yet.
Okay, so I don't think I gave too much away. All I say is just
it's been good so far.
it's been good so far, but it's been like I was telling the audience is that it's been slow because you're thinking like, yo, get to the Wu-Tang already, but it's slow, but you're finding out a lot. Like you're finding out it's showing a lot, and you're like, damn, like the beef between Ray and Ghost is still crazy. So it's just weird how they became so cool, and you're like I started listening to Wu-Tang I think last week. I was just working out, listening to the second album, because the second album, like we all do, we try to compare it to the first. It's never as good as the classic album. So last week I just started listening to the second album, and I was working out, and I was like, damn, this shit is good. And now I can understand some of the lyrics. I don't know if that ever happens to you. Like when you were younger, you didn't understand the lyrics. Either they were too fast or too smart. But now, as I'm older, I'm like, oh, it doesn't sound that fast. Like before, like there was shits I went, especially with Wu-Tang. These niggas be like, yo, Wallabies. You're like, what the hell they talking about? But now I'm like, oh shit, I understand what he's talking about. So it's slow, but it's also giving you a good kind of like story. But it's just crazy how RZA had that plan at such a early age, and it could have like they all could have like it never could have even worked out if he like didn't have that plan. And like good thing they all followed it, because I mean they're all big now. So I've been watching that. I think I told you, let me see what else. I've been watching Nine Strangers. I think it's called Nine Strangers on Hulu. And I've been watching, I watched the first episode, season 2, the morning show, which I watched last year on Apple TV, which I liked. I've been watching Ted Lasso, the soccer one. Last season was better than this one, but it's still a pretty good show. That's another thing that they do. This last episode on Ted Lasso, they did it on one character. And I'm like, why TV shows do that? Like, you could be watching one show and then all of a sudden they do it on some character that has nothing to do with it. So
I call those the filler. They needed to fill like an extra episode for the season.
it's like the fluffer. The fluffer who comes in for the porns.
That's me. I'm the fluffer.
Yeah, and let me see what else I've been watching.
I haven't watched Billions yet. That's back.
I haven't watched Billions. Let me see. I've been watching the Raising Kanan. Last episode was real good. It was real good. Yo, like whoever does the writing, and then the way that the moms pull that, it reminds me of Ghost.
Oh my God. Yes.
And no lie, like I was saying, like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, 50 Cent is the dumbest motherfucker, because when it comes to Ghosts and the moms, yo, they always use him like a punk. But
I wanna know how he became smart though, because this dude, Kanan, he's a little mamaito, bro.
But he plays 50 good, right? Like Yanni, at one point we're watching and she goes, "Is that 50 talking? Like his voice?" I said, "No, that's his voice." She thought it was because 50, he narrates the show at times, like. So she was thinking like, is the voice coming? But I said, "Nah, that's his voice. Like that kid is doing a lot of him." What else?